Welcome back to Sportsworld. Keith's joined us. A fairly low-key day with the Grand National Hurdle in Adelaide being abandoned, the meeting, because of weather. That doesn't happen too often, Keith, does it?
No, it doesn't. Melbourne's missed Adelaide's weather today, fortunately, Bruce, because we've got a double header of racing around the nation with a big event, the Queensland Millions at Caloundra. So I went to Caloundra on opening day, and the track is really consolidated. It's a fabulous track there now.
Yeah, they've got a really good horse up there too. Unbeaten has won 2 out of 2, and he'll start odds on by the look of it. So that's a $1 million race at Caloundra today. Is there a roughie that you could give us at Caulfield?
Oh, no, but I think that Pug horse will win. What's its name? Temperate Pug.
Temperate Pug, yeah, hard to beat.
Do you know who rode the first winner at Caloundra at the very first meeting? Successful trainer now in Sydney.
Oh.
Ron Quinton.
Ron, did he?
OK. Talking about Sydney, Bruce, yesterday, 4 jockeys felt the wrath of the stewards. Wayne Harris, Craig Carmody, Larry Cassidy and Michael Evans, all suspended. Our good mate Max on radio this morning was blaming the false rail out 6 metres. I think you'd have to blame the jockeys and not the rail placement.
G4 and some changes in Sydney with the chief executive resigning, and also the acting chief steward who's going to Malaysia.
Yes, John Rouse, quite a surprise really. He's going to join AWA Totalisators. There's a report in the morning paper that he is not leaving in good grace. I don't know about the truth of that report, but it was a surprise. And as you mentioned, the acting chief steward going, Ray Murray, will come down from Queensland at the start of the new season.
Yes, Ian Patterson going up to join John Schreck Company. Let's have a look at the 2 highlights from Sandown yesterday. The final of the 3-year-old race, won by Bon Beau, trained by Jared Ryan, who's having a good run, isn't he, in the winter? I mean, he's a top-class trainer, no doubt about this. A Big Hug, I thought, looked the winner on the turn, loomed up, Keith, but Bon Beau, who'd run second at Sandown in the heat of this race and had won at Bendigo prior to that in the other heat, well, he's run right up to that, and he's obviously a good winter 2-year-old.
This race is an innovation for our winter racing here in Melbourne. Most successful, as we saw, by almost a full gate yesterday, and the winner, as you mentioned, trained by Gerald Ryan, ridden by Peter Nucky. He had a bad fall in Brisbane months ago. He's back to his best now. And in a driving finish, Peter Nucky gets the best out of Bon Beau to get the #1 saddlecloth horse home.
Bon Beau after Big Hug, Jet Express, and then Lucky Enough. Bon Beau got to the lead, coming after it, Lucky Enough. Bon Beau a neck in front of Lucky Enough. Bon Beau a half a length, Lucky Enough. Third,
yes,
Jet
Greg
Express.
Miles there giving the commentary from ABC, so pretty handy 3-year-old, and he might make a reasonable 4- and 5-year-old, that fellow. I don't think we're looking at any spring chances there. What about from the Hiskins point of view, Keith? Lord Veloso's win in the Victorian Steeple. He's a really good horse at Sandown, isn't he?
Well, he is, but I mean, if Lord Veloso was a football team, he'd be the Sydney Swans, Bruce, because he wins when you least expect him to, and he gets rolled when you expect him to win. Yesterday, Lake Antinomy was the favourite, looked the winner. Lord Veloso got a second wind as they turned for home. That's him closest to the rail of the 3 leaders, and he kept battling away to the extent that he outslogged the 2 leaders after jumping this fence in 3rd position. Far too strong at the finish. I don't know whether he'll contest the crisp steeplechase next week, and if he does, maybe he won't be up to it, because there's a very good field going to go around the crisp.
The crisp is
in the Hiskins, I mean. Yep. Lord Soliri, the Quinella horses from the Grand National.
Is Cold Reason going to run?
And Cold Reason. So there are 4 that I think are better than yesterday's winner, Lord Veloso.
Eric Musgrove and Jim Houlihan are having a tremendous battle, aren't they? They've dominated from a training point of view the winter.
Yes, if it's not one, it's mostly Jim, isn't it? But if it's not Jim, then it is Eric Musgrove. They both concentrate on jumping horses, and they're both skilled craftsmen at that caper.
There were 2 listed races at Rose Hill yesterday. Keith's already told you the big news in Sydney racing. The Winter Cup was won by Grand Connection, who made it 3 in a row. But the Winter Handicap looked a very good race on paper. Our Mr. Woodman actually bolts in the end, this Newcastle horse who's been very consistent. But we picked this race out, Keith, originally because we thought Over the Top, who's in 3rd place here, and Brawigo, who's well back and was going for 4 in a row, were 2 horses to watch. Over the Top certainly has spring claims, but didn't really fire a shot here.
Yes, he's still pretty fresh, and maybe he'll improve. Our Mr. Woodman has been racing consistently. In fact, there are a few more consistent winter gallopers in Sydney than our Mr. Woodman. Yesterday was his day. Doubt whether we'll see much of our Mr. Woodman, or perhaps those who finish behind him in the spring, to be frank, Bruce.
Yes, Over the Top. Well, I wouldn't suggest he is what his name says he is, but he'll come back. He had one first up, 1300. He probably needed a bit longer, but a good win there. So we're only about 2 or 3 weeks away, Keith, from the good horses coming out. The San Domenico's coming up pretty quickly in Sydney.
Yes, and most significantly, I'll try. Also, importantly, the Manikato Stakes at Moonee Valley, when the track will reopen on the 19th of August.
Not long to go now. Keith, we're going to have hopefully Lee Friedman in next week, and he's been to Dubai. He wrote that article during the week, and it was interesting that the Dubai Cup will be happening next year. And from the London Times, they listed the top 10 races in the world in 1994 in terms of stake money. Japan, you know very well, you've been there so many times, the 2 races in America, 2 other races in Japan. But I found it very interesting that on the next page, the 3 Australian races, the Slipper, the Cup and the Cox Plate, were all amongst the 10 richest races in the world, even more than the Kentucky Derby, which is number 11.
That's a measure of how strong our racing is, isn't it? And missing the list, both the Kentucky Derby and the Irish Derby, they're outside the top 10. Yeah. And Dubai, of course, they'll be racing under floodlights in the desert on sand on the 27th of March for more than $5.5 million Australian dollars.
It's amazing. You better book your ticket now, Keith.
And Bruce, finally, let's elopes a mum-to-be. She was served in Foal to Danzig at a service fee of 350,000 Australian dollars.
Oh, that's good news. One of our all-time favourites. Good on you, Keith. Catch you next week. Good punting today. Roy joins us after this, and Gerard, AFL and Rugby League.
I think if you look at Carlton in particular, and I think most other clubs the same, all of our top players, and I think most of our teams have all played Teal Cup, so it's a classic breeding ground and will remain so.